most respected faculty members, learned members of the teaching community, friends, comrades, and all others who are listening to this audio. A very good evening to you all. Today, our YMSUFA secretary, Dr. Muralidharan, has posted a very important notification in WhatsApp stating that he is regretful of not able to support the national strike that has been declared by the labor unions of this country today. It shows that he is highly concerned about the processes that are being undergone by the labor in the country, and it also shows that he is sincere and committed towards the development of the labor and their issues. However, when speaking about labor and their development as well as the salaried middle class, some of our faculty members, they are handicapped in vision and they think more based on salaries, increments, promotion, so on and so forth. Therefore, in order to clear these kind of perspectives, I try to give a overall background of these kinds of issues, starting from a period after the independence. First of all, let us make clear that trade union activism started in this country following the Russian Revolution, and in 1920 they established AITUC and subsequently INTUC, Red Tech, and similar trade unions they emerged, and people like M.N. Roy, Lala Lajpat Rai, and all others, they have immensely contributed for the development of trade unionism in India. However, after independence, Jawaharlal Nehru, the first Prime Minister of the nation, he adopted a very friendly labor legal framework, and he was very liberal in considering the issues pertaining to the working class. And therefore, some of the countries, they were highly skeptical about these liberal laws that were introduced in India, and some of the countries even suggested to get back these labor laws, as because these are for a newly independent country, these kinds of labor laws are not expected and stringent measures has to be adopted. However, Nehru had a very friendly approach with leftist parties, and he also had a huge tilt towards socialist ideology. So his collaboration with leftists contributed for institution building, and they together established notable institutions in the nation. However, while collaborating with these ideologues, Nehru had some kind of suspicion that these leftists may cause a revolution and usurp power, and therefore he constantly observed their movements, and he was in a way adopting carrot and stick policy also. At that time, teachers and students stood in hand and served as safety valve mechanism to the government. Even students made Hindi strike possible and successful in our state. Similarly, Tirunelveli, which is called the Oxford of South India, it had its own history of student union. On 21/11/1972, Lourdhanathan, a student of St. Xavier's College, he was attacked by police people, and the students were striking against police expediency against one of the teaching staff of the college. Lourdhanathan died, and they established a statue in South Bazaar in commemoration of Lourdhanathan. After that, every year when student union elections are conducted, students in large numbers they will first visit Lourdesnath's statue and they will garland him, and after that, they will conduct their celebrations. So, Lourdesnath at that time became an icon, and I believe that today most of the Mota meetings are being organized in front of Lourdesnath's statue. However, the same spirit in which Lourdesnath was viewed in the past has not been followed these days. In 1960s and 1970s, teachers and students they came out of their colleges and schools and they struck work whenever there is a social need. There was a selfless mechanism that contributed for the development of unionism in this place and also in the country. Most of the student unions and teacher unions were inspired by the Russian Revolution, and they strongly believed that a Russian kind of revolution will take place in India also. Therefore, leaders like Shaul Majumdar of the Naxal movement and various other leaders, they constantly were mobilizing people through teachers, and some of them directly contact the students. The armed Naxal movement type of attempts were curbed in the state severely by the police, and everybody must be knowing about Operation Ajanta, which was handled with iron hand in the late 1970s and 19 and early 80s. So this kind of trend underwent a severe strain after the fall of Russia as well as globalization. Many people they try to assess the fall of unionism from the fall of Russia and globalization only. But as far as students are concerned, the 1993 judgment in the Indira Sane versus Union of India case was not very well noted, and in this case Supreme Court ruled that 27% of reservation for the OBCs should be adopted, and the reservation shall not cross 50%. However, to ensure social justice in Tamil Nadu for earlier than that, 69% reservation was followed. But this ruling it came as a shock to the upper caste, and these people who were filling, if you read Paul Brass and Rajani Kothari, they used to say that leftist movements and leftist parties were led by upper caste people, and these people were shocked by the judgment and they overnight shifted towards right wings, and they saw right wing development and right wing parties as their saviors. There were not too many parties in the right wing, and the development of important parties of the right wing started from there. Gradually, left movements they lost their importance, and leftist parties also gradually they lost their hold in parliament, and therefore there were severe compromises that were made by the leftist people. So leftist people in the 1960s, 70s or 80s, that is before globalization, they were focusing more on spreading the ideology. But after 1990s, they started to stick their banner wherever there is an issue, whether it is based on ideology or even if it is contradictory to the ideology of left or Marxism or communism. In fact, the higher education that was led by the left wing took twists and turns, and they did not want to see eye to eye certain irking problems and largely they adopted double standards. One of the major issues pertaining to higher education is plagiarism. One of the teaching staff in her WhatsApp post, she was very resentful of the research works that have been carried out in the university. So, plagiarism is one of the major problems, and everybody is worried about how to tackle the software pertaining to plagiarism. A few years before, one of the faculty members was alleged to have printed a book of a foreign author in his name. One of the faculty members, he wrote to that particular author, and he also gave details about where to complain this. Based on that, there was the first schism of the union. There was a delicate problem of whether to protect this particular person who has been victimized or to support the cause of higher education and protect the ethical front of the higher education. So, many people, as normal human beings, they try to support that particular faculty member. And in my experience in Delhi circle, we have never worried about this kind of an issue because we had the writing ability and we had time also to dedicate for writing, and therefore plagiarism was not a major issue that is troubling the country. And here in this part of South India or South Tamil Nadu, plagiarism is also one of the problems. But in the northern India, lobbying or racketeering, so lobbying they also call by the name racketeering, this is one of the major problems. So unions, they provide platforms for their own members, and some of the undeserving members, they use such platforms and they try to depict themselves as great scholars and claim superiority over others intellectually. Many of the scholars in the state, they have their origin of growth from trade unions, and as I have already said, some of them are undeserving members and they have also used the platform provided by trade unions not only for themselves but for their family members and followers. In matters of handling complaints also, there have been double standards. So, Frederick Engels, he states that when men and women, they start speaking sexual matters without inhibition, then only equality, gender equality will be established. But most of the leftist trade unionists, they do not have knowledge about this. When a complaint of sexual harassment based on a teacher speaking something in class, they jump at the opportunity and they victimize such teachers. And if similar complaint is placed on their own members, they tend to protect their members. Apart from all these, one of the most troubling issue in higher education is the use of guide-like materials by the students. If we have to compare between North and South, North India and South India, the Northern Indian students, they do not use these guide-like materials in large quantum as our students. So they have exposure to NCRT type of books, Indira Gandhi National Open University type of books, and they are having translated materials of people like Romila Thapar, Bipin Chandra, so on and so forth. But teachers' unions have not adopted any resolution in order to ban these kind of guides and notes sold in the bazaar and circulated in the academic circle. These materials definitely hamper the innovative and rational thinking of the students and hamper their intellectual development. Same in the pattern of the communist or leftist parties, the SFI also do not have a broad base. Once, when Vice Chancellor Cynthia Pandian Madam, when she tried to introduce English as the medium of course, and when she said that she will issue Tamil medium certificate for those who are writing exams in Tamil, SFI protested it. They wanted to issue English medium certificate for students who write through Tamil language also. But these days, Tamil language or Tamil medium students, they have some advantage in job reservation and vacancies. And now those students who protested at that time, they are visiting the university and requesting to issue Tamil medium certificate as because they wrote in Tamil language. Similarly, there is a compulsion of publishing your work. So, publication is a huge scam these days, and many people they are paying money for publishing their work. Earlier, there were large many print journals. So, for example, one of the print journals that has been released by C.P. Ramaswamy Iyengar Foundation, named Indian Journal of Indian History and Culture. If you submit your article in January of a year, they will send it to three referees and they will get the opinion of three referees, and if two have recommended for the publication, they will accept it for publication and they will release the journal only during December of the month, particularly in the session of Indian History Congress. And print journals these days have become unpopular, and if you pay adequate money, they can publish your work which is worthy or not overnight. So this is a major issue. So publication and research are works of passion and everybody cannot be compelled to do that. And earlier there had been professors who have retired without even guiding a single person for PhD, but these days that also has been made compulsory. My mentor Dr. Bhavanandi, whose PhD work was published by Jawaharlal Nehru University itself, he preferred not to guide anybody because he said that if I am to guide a person, I have to write his entire thesis, and for the sake of promotion, I could not make this compromise. Therefore, I have outlined certain issues that are being confronted by many of us in the field of higher education, and therefore, we should not reduce our demand and expectation only to promotions and salary increments. And if at all we have achieved our promotion and salary increment, what will be our next agenda? Our regular and permanent agenda should be to develop higher education and contribute for the development of nation building. So with these views of mine, I conclude my speech. Thank you very much. Jai Hind.